Welcome to the Brotherhood, everyone. This is the Wise Coffin, and today I wanted to ramble about time commanders. And I know I'm late into that wagon, but I actually saw the first episode, I believe, of the new season, or season 3, the 2006 Time Commanders. And since I already also saw the other ones, I even am rewatching the other series, I wanted to talk about my opinions about it. It is a very interesting show, I have to say. Nothing that I ever saw on television, and using Total War nonetheless is pretty cool. And I wanted to also talk about the differences between them, and like the adaptation between each series, between one another, which I find interesting. So each of the seasons, or for you that does not know, Time Commanders is a competition of battles that people go through, like a team or 4, at least in the first 2 seasons. And there are people that do not know about the computer game, like fighting, strategy games and whatever, so that people are not as good as like experienced people. But I believe the 2 seasons, when they came out, Rome Total War was not yet announced or launched, so no one was able to experiment with the game, I believe. But of course, when the 2006 Time Commanders came, Total War was already a known thing, but I believe they purposely choose teams that do not understand about video games so that there's kind of a fair advantage. But of course, when the 2006 Time Commanders came, Total War was already a known thing, but I believe they purposely choose teams that do not understand about video games so that there's kind of a fair advantage and people do not exploit their knowledge of the games. But each season is pretty interesting on the way that they run. First, you have the different announcers or presentators, and it's interesting that each one brings a different thing to each of the seasons. The first one is Eddie Mayer, a guy that I'd never seen, but I kind of like his way of running the show. He's kind of the snarky guy that always have kind of a crude joke, and he's very serious, but in a kind of a comedic way. So he's the guy presenting the first season, and on the first Time Commanders you have teams of 4, and you start there's not only the presentator, but there are also 2 historians on each of the episodes. Many times they're different, but most of the time, in all episodes, it's a man called Arya Nussbacher that on the first season, he and other guys, I don't know the name of the others, I'm sorry, but there's another guy aside from Arya Nussbacher that is kind of, I already saw him in a lot of videos on the interwebs. I think it's Mark Urban? No, that's another historian. I'm seeing here their names. Damn it, there's not there. The guy that also appears in Decisive Battles, that I believe is Adrian Goldsworthy. So, yeah, he also entered in that. But there's another guy, I believe he's Saul David, that is the weapons historian. Most of them go there because they introduce the show by presenting to the team of 4 the background or the briefing of the battle. The Time Commanders always starts with a briefing of the battle, and then they kind of give a background to the characters of that battle. And then in the first season, at least, the first season is the most busy. There's a lot of steps in the first season, like deployment, watching of the enemy troops, where you send a scout and you have to watch it, then pre-planning, and then there's actually the battle. there's a lot of stages, and I do not know if that's really good. I do not dislike very much, but I understand that in the other series, most of that was taken down. For example, in the first season, the part before the battles, like watching your troops, and there would even have sections of the episode where they would show your own units and their weaknesses and strong points, so that you would analyze the entire army, and then you would try to analyze the enemy army. But the deployment phase also, and the scouting, was incredibly important in the first season, and I think that actually gives a lot of more character to the battle, which is something that I kind of dislike what happened in the second season, that they streamlined the series just to have almost kind of the battle. But the second season also do some things different that the first season does not do. But regardless, every single time commanders, when you reach the battle, the people, there's the first season, it's actually the team that chooses, which is that there will be 2 generals and 2 captains. The 2 captains control the movements of the troops, and the generals actually decide what to do with those troops. And on the first and second season, they would be used as those teams of 4. And the 2 generals would be chosen, at least in the first season, by the actual team, while in the second season is actually the historians that choose whose generals and whose captains. And that is because, which is something that I do not understand why Time Commanders did it, but what they did was that in the first season there was a lot of losses. Many people would lose Time Commanders, and I actually like that. I really do not like when the people always win, because it becomes boring. So I actually enjoyed people losing on the first season, but they saw that people were losing and they did not want that. So what they did is that they did as much as they could to help the teams. For example, in the second season, what they do incredibly different from the other one is that there's a pre-battle phase, a skirmish, and that allows the team to understand how the engine works and how the battle works, because in the first season you only have time to practice and you have to go to battle in one go. And I actually like that decision on the second season, giving a skirmish battle, so that you understand how the battle works. What I do not like on the second season is how they help constantly the teams. They constantly help the teams, which is really annoying, because they almost treat the people like idiots. Like, I'm pretty sure that the first season does not have this, but in the second season there's a pause. They actually pause the battle for at least 2 times, and they let the teams discuss what they're doing and what they can do. Of course, it's not a very long pause. I believe it's kind of a 1-minute pause, but they do all that they can. And even the historians give them advice before the battles, and many of those advices are I also think that's something that only appears on the second season. The advices, I don't think, I cannot be sure actually, I'm forgetting that, but it's something that really annoys how they, on the second season, they really changed the formula of the series. I like that it changed, because if it was the same it would be boring, but it is kind of weird to see how they see on the first season they lose some. I don't even remember how many people on the first season of Time Commanders won the battles. Probably just 2. So on the second season more people won, but also people lost, so it's not really a big deal. And at the end of And at the end of all Time Commander battles, they actually show what happened in the actual battle historically. They use the blocks and the map that they have on the center of the table, and they explain to the teams using on the battle there how it went, and it ends just like that. And yeah, the second season and the first season are kind of the same, in the same time era. And also, by the way, it is on the second season that announcer or presentator changes, and this guy I actually know, Richard Hangman, because I saw him already on Top Gear, I believe. No, it was I think it's a science show or whatever, on Discovery or whatever, science whatevers, and I saw him already on TV actually. The second season and third season, guys, I already saw them on TV. Eddie Mayer, I never saw it, but this guy is more of a quirky guy, like he jokes more around, he's more goofy, and he's kind of completely the opposite of Eddie Mayer. And I also like him. He reminds me one of the Doctor Who's actors. I don't know the name of the guy, but he reminds me one of those actors that play Doctor Who. And I really like his tone. He's very cool and cunning. I like his talking. He actually advises the people. Eddie Mayer didn't ever almost said anything to the teams, but this guy tries to help them, Richard Hangman. So it is really interesting to see the different dynamics of the presentators. I like all of them, I have to say, and my favorite is the third one actually, of the third season. But I like all of them. Yeah, every one of them, it's different in its own way, which is a thing that I really like. And what I do not, what I kind of dislike, and by the way, I'm sorry if I will not talk with a lot of cohesiveness, because this is not script. I'm just rambling on things that I want to ramble. But one thing that I hate on Time Commanders is, and it's not really on most of them, it's most notably on Harry Nusbacher, that the main historian that appears in all of the episodes. He is so annoying, not because of the way he speaks or the way he acts or whatever. He's not like that. It's not because of that. It's because you have to understand something, and that's why I got upset a little on the show. You cannot let yourself be caught up on what they say. They're just doing a TV show. They don't want to be historically accurate, although they're historians, but they streamline a lot what they're saying to kind of give it a nuance to the audience. So, for example, that Ari Nusbacher, he really abstracts the things that he's talking about, and also all the other ones. They and if you go even to the YouTubes and you see some of the battles, you'll see a lot of comments bashing on the historians because they say bullshit. They say things that have nothing to do with historical accuracy, and the one that I have the most gripes about, and that's because I'm a Achaemenid aficionado, it's the battle, I think it's the Battle of Gaugamela? I don't remember if that... It's one of the battles that is with the Achaemenid Empire. Alexander against Darius. I think it's the Battle of Gaugamela. Aryan Nusbacher, he says that the Persians use slaves for their battles. And if he was a true historian... Well, he is an historian, but if he was to talk on that show on true historical accuracy, he would say that the Persians were Zoroastrians and slavery was illegal. You could not have slaves. Of course, probably there would be like in black markets and whatever, but officially the Achaemenid government did not have slaves. So yeah, they would be probably drafted probably not to their best of intentions. Probably many of the people who fought did not want to die, but they were paid accordingly through taxation, through coin, or through foods or rations, I don't know. But that's the most gripe that I have about the show, is how lack the historians are on historical accuracy. And when it comes between the first and the second season, the biggest difference between those two is that the second season cuts everything before the battle, like the deployment phase, watching your troop weaknesses and strong points, going with a scout to find the enemy troops, and trying to formulate a plan. Well, that's actually all of the shows have, where before the battle the teams explain their battle plan, but everything before that, the preparations before the battle, like looking, even something that I forgot, on the first season they would look at the terrain. Even something like that would appear, and I think actually it's a good idea to take that, because it was a lot of busy work. But me, I'm not a common viewer. I kind of like historical tactics and strategy and warfare. I like to see that, but of course for the normal consumer of the show, he would not like that, so I understand. And also, another big change is the skirmish. Now, the third season, I have to say, it's my favorite. It's really good. It perfects everything that the other two seasons have created. The first and the second season developed their own things, but on the third, I believe they perfected it to a perfection. And what I mean by that is that one thing, and this is the most important change of all on the third season, is that, and I actually applaud for this, because on the first and second season it would be a team of 4 against the AI. Or not the AI, it probably was someone hiding, probably playing the enemy. I'm not sure the AI would act as smart as sometimes the enemy on Time Commanders play, but it's never a human opponent, technically. It's kind of supposed to be the team against that actual army. But on the third season, is actually 2 teams that fight against each other. And I really like that. And instead of 4 people, each team has 3, which one is a general and the other 2 are captains, which I think it destroys the dynamic. I think it destroys the dynamic that previously existed. That was something that I adored watching the second and first seasons, where the historians and even the presenter would talk and show to the audience how the teams were making their reactions to one another. I like the dynamic of the teams, where a general would overpose the other and the other one would just stay quiet, or the 2 would be incredibly effective, like each of the generals would command each captain. There was a lot of that, but the third season, it's all about the one team against the other. So that component of the generals really does not need to exist, and so I applaud for this decision of having 2 teams. And how it goes, and by the way, this one is presented by, I'm seeing his name here, Greg Wallace. The thing that I know about this guy, I think, is the bald guy on MasterChef. So I really like this guy. He feels like he's like a cool father or a cool brother. I saw the first episode of the third season and the preview of another battle, and I really like his tone. He's really cool, and he really feels like a cool brother or a cool father that is there talking to the kids. I really like it. And this one is almost falls like almost exactly like the second season, where each team has a skirmish phase and the other but it's not at the same time. where one team first do its skirmish phase, and then the other that already did their skirmish also watch the others. So it is double time that people have to be accustomed to the engine. And when the actual battle goes, they actually go to different rooms so that they do not listen to what the others are saying, and they could use that information to have advantage in the battle. But I also like that each historian, and this time it's always the same historians, the weapon historian, and the now she, Arya Nussbacher, because on the first and second seasons he was a man, but now on the third season is a woman. So on the third season he is a she, and I actually have completely forgot if he still has the same name. He probably has, I don't know, but either way, the historian and she, that is now a she, they are always the ones that present the show. And when I say this, it is with great regret that I say that the third season only has 3 episodes. 3. That is awful. Why did they do that? I don't understand. I honestly think that the third season is the best. Not only there's the dynamic that is incredibly new, because in the first and second season we never saw like a duality in the battles. It was always like the team. We would focus on the team. And this is actually cool because we have 2 different teams, and one will always lose and one will always win. So the problem of Time Commanders, of trying to help the people to always win, it's already now negated. You don't need to do that anymore. So that's really cool. And even further, there's a lot of more spectacular images, like on the background there will appear images of generals behind the people that are talking. There will be flashing images about the current generals that they are operating with and the troops. And between the battles there are also sketches of people that understand about weapons and tactics of the ancient era, and they actually, in little skits, they present to the teams, both teams, the weapons of the time, the tactics, and the way that they were used. So I really enjoyed it. It's really cool. Unfortunately, it's only 3 episodes, and I do not understand why. I don't know if these 3 episodes was kind of just of a marketing by CA, or if the show was not successful. I have no idea. I don't think there's actually any information here on the internet, as far as I know, of why this is only 3 episodes, because I believe the first season is 16, then the other one I believe is I don't even know, but doesn't matter. Both seasons had a lot of episodes, and this one only had 3, and I think it's the best one. So it is incredibly underwhelming to see such a cool show, and they would even be more goofy, the historians, like a weapons historian is a goof, and he would kind of use the teams as kind of examples, try to explain the teams how they should use it on their duels, and they would be more goofy, at least that one, because Arya Nussbacher, you know what, I'm feeling guilty on naming her Arya Nussbacher on the 3rd season, but I don't see her name here. Yeah, it's still Nussbacher. Okay, thank God. So it is really a shame, but whatever the reason, it's still cool that we see the last glimpse of Time Commanders before it ended for good. I think it ended for good, because I don't think they could top this, or they could just make another one, but exactly like the third one, because we have so few episodes, I really would not mind. But it was probably because of lack of viewing, maybe. So, I don't know. Who knows? And hopefully they could revive another Total War series that appeared on TV that I'm actually going to ramble in another day, but I do not want to talk about what it is. But anyone who understands about these Total War shows on the television, you know already what it is, because there's only 2 Total War shows as far as I know.